Like podcast. This is an international relations podcast by the students, for the students, and of the students. Today, we have Krishna Sreedharan with us. She has been studying Pakistan for a while, and we would like to know more about the notorious neighbor of ours. She is a final year master student at the University of Mumbai, and and she has interned with the Center for UN Peacekeeping, ASEAN Women's Military Course, and also has a diploma in conflict transformation and peace building. Welcome, Krishna.
Thank you, Shrishti, for the welcome.
And we'd like to know more about Pakistan from her. So, can you please give us a brief overview of Pakistan first?
Pakistan is a South Asian country strategically located in the crossroads of Central Asia, South Asia, and West Asia. It shares a border with India to its east, Afghanistan to its northwest, Iran to its west, China to its northeast, and the Arabian Sea to the south. Pakistan lies at a vital geostrategic juncture connecting the energy rich Middle East and Central Asia with the Indian subcontinent and the Indo Pacific. This makes it a key transit route for trade and energy corridors. Pakistan's geography is not only a defining feature for its foreign policy, but also central to regional power politics. Its location offers both opportunities as well as vulnerabilities.
So, what do you think were the major political controversies or scenarios that have shaped the current politics of Pakistan, of course, after independence?
So, most recently, we could see the controversial February 2024 general elections that reshaped Pakistan's political landscape through a mix of repression and managed outcomes. Allegations of rigging, suppression of PTI candidates, and restrictions on media and rallies led to widespread domestic and international criticism. PTI's effective sidelining created a political vacuum, but the party still commands popular support in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, where CM Gandapur continues to defy the federal mandate, especially on policing and governance. The current government is led by the PMLN in coalition, governs with overt military backing. The Army Chief, General Asim Munir, has emerged as the most influential actor in national decision making, particularly in steering both domestic security and foreign policy. This has deepened the civil military tension and marginalized the parliamentary mechanisms. The announcement of India's Operation Sindoor and the subsequent suspension of the Indus Water Treaty has further exposed the civilian government's weak strategic autonomy. Foreign policy responses and national security directives are being reshaped largely by the military, amplifying the public unease over the democratic backsliding and also the concentration of the power in an unelected institution.
So, what do you think is the current state of economy there?
Pakistan's economy is traditionally driven by three main sectors: the agriculture, their textiles, and the foreign remittances from its large diaspora. The textile industry, in particular, plays a vital role in exports and employment. Agriculture, with crops like wheat, sugarcane, and rice, is both a lifeline as well as a liability due to its vulnerability to flooding and the outdated infrastructure. Remittances, especially from the Gulf region, continue to be a financial cushion from recent slowdowns which have caused concerns.
Challenges Pakistan is facing, and is the government have doing something about it?
Pakistan is facing a perfect storm of economic troubles: skyrocketing inflation, particularly in food and fuel, a depreciating currency, depleting foreign reserves, and a widening fiscal deficit. In response to this, the government has struck a fresh agreement with the IMF, which, as always, comes with its strings attached: subsidy cuts, tax hikes, and structural reforms. These measures are necessary but deeply unpopular. They're hitting the middle and lower classes the hardest. There's also a renewed focus on attracting foreign direct investment, especially from China and the Gulf nations, and on reforming the energy sector to reduce its circular debt. Interestingly, following the Operation Sindoor and the suspension of the Indus Water Treaty, Pakistan now faces additional costs on water management, and agriculture sectors have already been strained by the climate vulnerability. The economic ripple effect of these regional tensions cannot be underestimated at this moment.
What is the structure and accessibility of the country's healthcare system?
The Pakistan's healthcare system is largely underfunded and uneven, and less than 1% of its GDP is used towards healthcare expenditure. It's a hybrid model. They have public hospitals that serve the masses but are often overburdened, while they have private facilities which are mainly accessible to the urban elites. The gap between the rural and the urban healthcare is significant, with many rural areas relying on under equipped clinics or local dispensaries.
What are the key healthcare concerns? Are there any chronic diseases that the population is facing?
There are some major healthcare challenges currently we can see coming up in Pakistan. We have the persistent threat of polio, with new cases that have been reported this year, making Pakistan one of the last countries where this virus is still endemic. We see a rising number of cases of tuberculosis, of hepatitis, and an alarming spike rate in the mental health issues, especially among the young, which has been compounded by the economic stress and political instability. To add to this, we have the effects of climate change and the flooding and the heat waves, which has impacted the sanitation and disease control. So, the system is currently under very heavy strain.
So, what are the major internal and external security threats for Pakistan, especially given its neighbor is Afghanistan and this side it creates its own problem in UK?
Internally, Pakistan continues to face threats of militant groups, particularly in Balochistan and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. The re-emergence of the Tariq-e-Taliban Pakistan, the TTP, has led to frequent attacks on security forces. Sectarian violence and ethnic tension are also persisting in certain regions. Externally, we can see that the relations with India is remaining tense, especially following the Op Sindoor, which was not just about military posturing but a diplomatic sting in the form of the suspension of the IWT. This has shifted Pakistan's threat perception and prompted a rethinking of water scarcity as a part of national security.
What is Pakistan's approach to its national security and defense priorities?
Pakistan maintains one of the largest standing armies in the world. The defense spending remains extremely high despite the economic constraints. The military police plays a dominant role not just in the traditional sense, but also in shaping the foreign policy and even the domestic narratives. On the law enforcement front, there have been police reforms which have been sporadic. The civilian institutions are often sidelined, especially in counter-terrorism operations, which are led by paramilitary or intelligence services. There's also like an ongoing tension between the need for internal security but also the respect for civil liberties.
We have heard a lot about the Fauji companies. So, can you give us more insights on the same?
Absolutely. Over the last 3 months, Pakistan has witnessed a curious, stable chaos. While the streets have simmered with discontent and judiciary has tangled with its legitimacy, one sector has remained largely insulated, and that is their military's corporate empire. At the heart of this empire lies the Fauji Foundation, a sprawling network of businesses with deep stakes in Pakistan's fertilizer, cement, banking, and food sectors. On paper, it's a welfare trust for veterans. In practice, it's a parallel economic powerhouse, reportedly controlling over $7 billion in assets and impacting everything from energy policy to supermarket shelves. But here's the twist. While political parties like Imran Khan's PTI were dismantled through arrests, media bans, engineered defections, after the controversial elections of 2024, the military run companies are surging ahead. The Askari Bank expanded services, the Fauji Fertilizers announced dividends, the Fauji Cement sealed a major merger. Business as usual, or is this business under immunity? The Competition Commission fined several Fauji subsidiaries just weeks ago for collusive price fixing, yet public outrage barely registered. This is because criticism of the military's economic role often leads to surveillance or worse. There's also an economic subversion angle. Civilian competitors allege large allocations without due process, preferential contracts, or nepotistic hiring. Meanwhile, brands like Nupur, Doste, which have been owned by the Fauji Foods, have faced targeted boycott movements not for poor quality, but as a symbolic protest against the military's overreach. While Pakistan's external debt balloons and foreign reserves dwindle, many analysts have been arguing that the entities like the Fauji Foundation operate in a grey zone, contributing to the welfare, yes, but not fully accountable to the public exchequer. So the foundation's slogan may be earn to serve, but it increasingly seems like it's serving without being answerable.
What are the main allies of Pakistan when it comes to its foreign policy, and also the challenges Pakistan's foreign policy is facing currently?
Pakistan's foreign policy continues to be shaped by four key axes. We have China, the Gulf countries, the United States, and Afghanistan. When we look at China in particular, we see that China has proved to be an all weather strategic partner, especially through CPEC. Interestingly, with CPEC, we are seeing a new angle of China's influence on Pakistan's foreign policy, which has deepened significantly through the economic instruments like panda bonds. By issuing these yuan dominated bonds into the in the Chinese domestic market, Pakistan has gained access to much needed liquidity, but at the cost of increasing financial dependence on Beijing. This dependence subtly shapes Islamabad's foreign policy. For instance, its consistent silence on China's treatment of Uyghur Muslims, its alignment with Chinese policies in multilateral forums, the Panda bonds combined with the China Pakistan Economic Corridor create a financial ecosystem that binds Pakistan closer to China's strategic orbit. As repayment obligations and economic resilience grows, so does China's leverage, making it harder for Pakistan to adopt any stance that contradicts Beijing's interests.
Do you think the country has any diplomatic challenges, and how do you think they're doing with it?
The biggest diplomatic challenge right now is also navigating its strained ties with India, especially with Operation Sindoor and the suspension of the water sharing protocols, which has raised both ecological as well as geopolitical alarms. Additionally, when they look at managing perceptions in the West, particularly around human rights and counterterrorism, it remains a challenge, especially as Pakistan has been facing the FATF like scrutiny once again. On the flip side, we see that there are growing opportunities for engagement in Central Asia with Russia, particularly in energy and trade diversification. Pakistan also continues to pitch itself as a mediator with the Muslim world disputes, such as the Iran Saudi reconciliation efforts, although they have been having limited success so far.
Krishna, that was a really insightful session on Pakistan. Pakistan has always been a troublemaker for India, and recent visits of Asim Munir and his statements about India have also created a lot of chaos. It's not just the terrorism that we need to worry about, but also diplomatic engagements of Pakistan with countries like USA, which are further escalating our tensions, and in the diplomatic world as well. So let's see what happens further. Thank you so much.